So this reading is called Loneliness, Soledad, and Temperature. Does coldness really make people feel lonely? En verdad hace el frío sentir la gente solo, sola. Sorry. Okay, so this says here, according to new research, like de acuerdo con, según new research, investigación, people exposed, la gente que se expone to warmer temperatures find it harder, les resulta más difícil to grasp viewpoints. Grasp means like literally grab with your hand, but in this context, it means entender. Viewpoints, punto de vista, other than their own. So, for example, people who live in hot parts of the world find it more difficult to understand other points of view, other opinions. No? Mientras que, while those exposed to colder weather find it easier, les resulta más difícil to understand, a different point of view, ¿no? Entender al prójimo. It seems that in order to take the heat out of the disagreement, sacar, quitar, el calor, la pasión, out of the disagreement, del desacuerdo, like the fight, you should literalmente take the heat out of the room, Si todo el mundo tiene calor, está enojado, then it's better to kind of like cool the situation down. And I guess it kind of makes sense. I mean, how many of you have had fights or arguments with your family when you're too hot in Acapulco or something? I think we've all been there. Okay, so since I've always prepared, and this since doesn't mean desde, it means dado que, ya que. I've always preferred the cold. This was music to my ears. When we say in English, this is music to my ears, like, oh, I love hearing this. This is great news for me. Yeah, music to my ears. I love to hear this. Okay, it's tempting, tentador, to extrapolate. Now, when you extrapolate, you infer or you conclude. Yeah, o sea, podrías llevar esas ideas, esas conclusiones a un extremo. Extrapolate. Might this explain the affable, affable like friendly, tolerance of the Canadians? Obviously. Well, if in Canada it's cold, that's why people in Canada are very tolerant and very affable. ¿No? Podrías llegar a pensar eso. Digamos. Or the history of prejudice in the US South. So the US South, like slavery and stuff, because obviously it's a very hot, Texas is extremely hot, for example. And well, that could explain the prejudice, like el prejuicio, el racismo, blah, blah, blah. Okay. And sadly, lamentablemente, on closer reading, al leerlo más de cerca, al estudiarlo más, the study is only a partial victory. Partial, parcial, no es una victoria completa. We're better at seeing perspectives when we're chilly, when we're a bit cold. The researchers argue, the researchers kind of say, because cold triggers. Trigger is like gatillo, but in this sense, it means like provoca, causa, a sense of social distance. Now, obviously, nowadays we all know what social distance means. It reminds us of our separateness, no? Like we're not close to people, como nos separamos de la gente. ¿No? And thus, y por tanto, thus, the fact that others aren't like us, la gente no es como nosotros. We gain perspective, adquirimos como la perspectiva at the cost of intimacy, y pues el pago, el trade-off, ¿no? Unas por otras, is the intimacy. So you lose intimacy, pero por perder intimacy, ganas perspective, ¿no? So it's like, unas por otras. Okay, so what looks at first like a surprising result? Así que lo que parece a primera vista un resultado sorprendente turns out to, resulta to reinforce, como respaldar, one of the most intriguing, one of the most interesting psychological findings of recent years. That coldness, el frío, makes people feel lonely. Por el frío nos sentimos solos. The opposite, lo contrario, is also true. Loneliness, si estás como muy lonely, vas a tener frío, makes people feel cold. In one experience, students played a computer game, videojuego, in which they threw a ball back and forth. O sea, pasaban la pelota entre ellos, ¿no? with other on-screen characters, otros personajes, each of whom they wrongly believed, o sea, los que organizaron el experimento les dijeron que los otros jugadores fueron controlados por otro alumno playing elsewhere en otro lado. Yeah, but it wasn't true. It was controlled by a computer, not controlled by another person. Okay, so after a while, the others sometimes began to keep the ball to themselves. Ya no pasar la pelota de vuelta. ¿No? Like they're excluding them. Subsequently, después, players who'd been thus ostracized, excluded, los que habían sido excluidos thus, de esta manera, de este modo, showed a marked preference, ¿no? Una preferencia muy obvia, muy clara, for hot foods over cold ones, ¿no? Terminando el experimento, ¿quieres comer algo frío o quieres comer algo caliente? The people who felt lonely chose hot food. Non-ostracized players, los que nunca fueron excluidos, they didn't get any, they didn't have that preference. They were like 50-50. In a recent rerun, like they did the same experiment again to check that the results were valid. Okay, this when ostracism, like being excluded, led to a drop in skin temperature. Midieron la temperatura de la piel, and people who were lonely, people who were excluded, literally had colder skin. Okay. Other studies have found that hot baths, de mezza latina y muy caliente, relieve, like aliviar, relieve loneliness. And that merely, simplemente, being reminded of an experience of exclusion, simplemente si alguien te recuerda de esa experiencia de cuando no te incluyeron, no te invitaron a jugar, prompts people, como que provoca, prompts people, to judge a room's temperature as colder. Dicen que estamos a 11 grados cuando realmente es más. Nos sentimos más fríos pensando en esa experiencia de exclusión. Okay, and this kind of research about how seemingly innocuous. Innocuous es inocuo, que no hace daño. Innocuous aspects of our surrounding. Lo que aparentemente es inocuo, de nuestros surroundings, de nuestro entorno, can exert powerful effects. Realmente pueden ejercer powerful effects. Has been in the doghouse lately. Últimamente ha sido muy criticized. Okay, so this kind of research, this sentence got a bit of a strange structure. So it says here, this kind of research, blah, 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 has been in the doghouse lately. So yeah, just make sure you kind of understand the structure of that sentence, because it says, this kind of research has been in the doghouse lately. And that's the logical structure, okay? Several classical findings, como que los hallazgos, findings, los clásicos, have proved difficult to replicate, ¿no? Tratan de replicar, validar el estudio anterior y no pueden. It's no longer, ya no, clear, for example, whether being exposed to words associated with old age, esas palabras que tienen una connotación de la vejez, gray and bingo, like the game that old people play, usually, really does not make people start walking more slowly. Que realmente eso no provoca que la gente camine más lentamente. But there's reason to believe, o sea, hay razón para creer, o sea, hay motivos por los cuales debemos creer. The link between loneliness, el vínculo between loneliness and will hold up, que sí va a resistir, que esta idea sí va a aguantar más experimentación. Okay? It's no mere matter of word association. It's not simply, no simplemente word association. Temperature may be a crucial way, una manera crucial, our bodies keep track of. So when we say keep track of, it's like monitorear, okay? So keep track of. Whether we get getting the social contact we need, ¿no? Ese contacto social que tanto necesitamos, okay? It's easy to see why natural selection might have given us, puede ser que nos haya dado, natural selection, a yearning, un deseo, ¿no? Un deseo muy fuerte, to be near friendly fellow tribe members, ¿no? O sea, miembros, integrantes del tribu agradables. But a fellow is like someone in the same position as you. So, for example, if you're on a bus and you have fellow passengers, it's a passenger just like you. If I say your fellow students, it's a student just like you are a student. In this case, fellow tribe member means a tribe member just like you are a tribe member. Okay. They were crucial for food, security, seguros, and relationships. People worry that social media are making us lonely, que las redes sociales are making us lonely and isolated. But what if that is exactly half true? Cierto, pero a la mitad nada más. What if they are not making us isolated? No nos estamos aislando. Online connections are real, pues claro, es una conexión real, after all, al fin del día, but are making us feel lonely and solitarios, partly because those connections do not involve heat. No hay un calor corporal in Facebook or Twitter or whatever. Okay, good. So, it sounds silly, suena tonto, that hot baths and soup might be the answer, la respuesta to loneliness. Surely the only real answer, la única respuesta real, is real connection. But a feeling of isolation makes people try less hard to connect. Si te sientes aislado, es menos probable que te conectes con la gente. ¿No? So a nudge, like un empujoncito, like a soft push in the right direction, un pequeño empujoncito, una pequeña motivación, in the right direction, like in the right way towards your goal, inclusive a bath, like meterse a la tina, can't hurt. And severe loneliness, like kind of extreme cases, really can hurt, pueden dañarte físicamente. It's been found, se ha descubierto, to exacerbate, agravar, numerous serious diseases. But I'm a cold lover, ¿no? Dice el autor. Yo amo el frío. Does that mean I hate people? Odio a la gente? I hope not. When I really think about it, cuando lo pienso, the thing I love most, lo que más me encanta de cold weather, is coming back into the warmth, el calor. Lo que más le gusta de andar afuera en la calle en el frío es meterse a su casa y pues donde hace calor. Okay? Well, as always, guys, I hope this information helps.